Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's another episode of the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And today we have a good special guest, good friend of mine, Justin Mcnaught. Justin, what's up, man?
Nothing. How's it going today, guys?
Doing good.
Good.
Appreciate
Thank
you taking the time out of your schedule. I know you're a busy guy. But yeah, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. We're going to talk a little bit of wood today in some way, shape, or form, okay?
Sounds good.
But yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, born and raised here in Galesburg, Knox County. Married to my beautiful wife, LV Santoyo Mcnaught. A couple kids. My full-time job is traffic supervisor for the city of Galesburg. But we also have a business called Urban Milling Co., and that's what we're here to talk about today. So, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you speaking of wife and kids, you guys just did a little Disney trip.
Yeah.
Just got back, so you're fresh back from Florida, and you got that whole Disney experience. Was that your first time?
It was my first time.
So what'd you think, even as an adult?
It was fun, but I would say it's more on the cool side between all the special effects, like going into like the Star Wars. I mean, you really feel like you're there.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not like a geek like that or anything, but it was just a cool experience being there and
all the different countries, right? You can kind of hop in, like you're in Mexico, you're in China, you're in Japan, you're in, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and they nail it to a T.
Yeah.
Like everything. Yeah. Everybody's accents there. They're speaking German. Yeah, you name it.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
That's crazy.
Have you been to Disney World?
In Orlando? No.
Yeah. No, you'll have to. It's an experience, even as an adult, as a child.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they kill it on every level.
They do, and it's not just a kid thing. Like, it's super adult oriented for sure. Yeah.
I was telling him before he went how much. I mean, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. I mean, every little thing that you go and do, everything, and especially when you had your two boys with you.
We saved up this change jar. I know it's kind of corny, but since my son was born, for 7 years, we've been saving our change, and just for this trip. So he was pretty excited to crack that open and
that's awesome.
Take all that with him. So
that's what's up. You guys had a good time.
It was fun.
Good.
It was good.
It's one of those things too. You're probably kind of glad to get back home too.
Yeah, I mean, you 4 days walking around nonstop with probably like what?
Yeah, I've heard about that part.
75,000 people a day.
Steps. You're getting steps.
You get tired.
Yeah. But literally everything. $100. That's how I just hear ching, ching, ching.
That's the first thing out of everybody's mouth. It's like, how much was it?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's no joke. So yeah.
But it's worth it. It's definitely a cool experience.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go, we were talking about this too. Like, if you're gonna go, don't cheap. Yeah, I mean, just send it, man. You're here. Make the most of it.
Yeah, let's have fun.
We might not ever go
soak
again.
it all in.
But no, that's cool.
Cool.
So how old are the boys?
They're 8 and 5.
Yeah, they're getting into that fun age where it really starts to take off.
Yeah, so we actually went down there for my son's 5th birthday. So we were down there to celebrate his birthday.
That's cool.
So that's cool.
That's awesome.
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Urban Milling Co. What even got you into like wanting to venture into wood and cut, and like, I mean, I see some of your equipment. I follow you on Instagram. What got that started?
Well, you know, I've always kind of been into woodworking since I was a kid. My grandfather was a skilled carpenter. You know, I grew up in East Galesburg, and we had about 1.5 acres, and about half an acre is all timber. So I'd always go in there and cut the trees down and clear the timber. And I just love being outdoors with the trees. And I know that sounds cheesy, but that's kind of what like evolved me to like enjoy woodworking and trees. And then, you know, everybody kind of gets busy when you get older. Well, I kind of fell out of that. Well, me and LV, we started getting together. We got the house, and she bought this live edge table. And this is probably about 10 years ago. And I wasn't really excited about it. And if you're not familiar with live edge, it is planks of wood that still has the contour of the edges on it.
Right. Okay. I didn't know what that meant, but I do now. Okay.
So, you know, it's very natural looking. Mm-hmm. So we have a live edge table in our dining room, and LB purchased it. And she's like, I want some live edge benches. And I says, okay, cool. So I sourced the log, and then I made some contacts of who has a sawmill to cut this log for me. You know, it was the right size. It's the perfect width, the perfect length. So a guy in Mcnaught had his mill. And this is about 10 years ago. And so he slabbed this walnut log up for me. And I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, I can totally do it. I'm into it. So anyways, I built these beautiful benches. We still use them today. And then we had our children, and I kind of fell out of that, you know, just busy with life.
Sure.
So then I just saw a sawmill on the marketplace one day. It was just this little tiny sawmill in Rushville. So I said, I'm going to buy this. And I don't think I told my wife I was going to buy it, but I went and bought it. And we had some land out in East Galesburg. I put it on that chunk of land. I started cutting timber off of it and milling this wood. And then I started getting logs for free from anybody that had logs, you know, if one fell down your yard, municipalities, you know, arborists. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, take them. Well, then I realized I started making some money on it. So, but it was extremely hard work because everything's manual. You know, You're turning the logs, you're loading the logs, you're pushing the mill head through the log. And I'm like, this is not a long time investment. So it's like, I need to upgrade. So then I begged my wife to buy a wood miser, which is it's an LT35. It's fully hydraulic and it's portable. So, you know, you can pull it out to the forest, you put your log on it, it lifts the log up on the deck, it clamps it, and then the saw head moves through the log automatically.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, it'll speed up production by tenfolds.
Easy. And you're not breaking your back doing the physical part of moving it all around, for sure. Yeah,
and we all have children, and you know how valuable time is. So if I can cut 5 logs in the amount of time it would take me to cut 1 log, that's a win.
Right.
So I drove all the way down to Oklahoma to pick this mill up because it was such a great price, because there's no way I could afford a new one. And so that's kind of how that got involved. I've upgraded since then, and I just really love doing it. So, I mean, that's kind of how I got into it.
So I always laugh, like, so I like to golf, right? And someone will be like, hey, your ball's over there by the oak tree. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, which one's the oak tree? Like, I don't know, like, oak, maple.
Sure.
Like, I don't have a clue. I'm like, is it the big one? Or, like, which one is that? Like, I'm terrible at that. Are you able, like, can you go out and you know your trees?
Yeah, so when I worked for the park department right out of high school.
Okay.
And like I said, I was kind of into trees. So when I was driving around, I would be like, hey, what kind of tree is that? Oh, that's a catalpa tree. Hey, what was that? Oh, it's a red oak. You know, that's a pin oak. And I still do that today. And I kind of geek out when I see this big, beautiful walnut tree or this crazy, huge white oak. You know, it's like, you know, that tree's probably 400 years old. And it's just exciting to see. But there's still a few rare ones that I'm not comfortable at guessing. But
what's the tree of all trees? Like, what
would be the tree that would make the most expensive table? Let's say.
You know, you'll hear everybody talk about black walnut just because it's so beautiful. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not.
No.
So it's really dark caramel in the middle, and it has a little white sapwood, which your sapwood is on the outside of the tree. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of rare out west and down south just because they don't have it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of a Midwestern, little Eastern tree. And it's just very sought after. And so, like, when somebody wants to log a forest, they're going to look for white oak and walnuts. That's what they want.
Okay.
So, and white oak is very hard, and it's valuable as well. So, and you won't see a lot of white oaks in town. And really, walnuts are kind of a nasty tree. You've seen walnuts, you know, They drop them all over the ground. They stink. They stain everything.
Those are the green things.
Right? Yeah. They're pain to mow over. Right. People hate them, but they make very beautiful lumber. So I try to gravitate towards that just because it yields the highest in profit for me. Mm-hmm. So
when people are reaching out to you, customer wise, what are people calling? I'm sure it's not just one or two things, but I mean, what are your typical phone call or when someone reaches out and says, Justin, I'm in need of blank?
I'm looking to make a river table, or I'm looking to make some floating shelves. Do you have a mantelpiece? So mainly People want to do their own tables with slabs, live edge slabs.
Yeah.
Or they'll want to do a river table with live edge slabs. Those are probably like my two main things that I sell them for.
So, and are you selling, so you're not making the furniture?
I don't make the furniture. I have.
Okay. And would you if you're like, hey, this is what I need, dude?
I would if...
I'm not putting you on the spot.
I have made tables and turned out beautiful, but
Sure.
it takes a ton of time for myself just to cut the wood. So actually to source the log, to cut the wood, to dry the wood, and then try to sell it. And then turn around and try to make projects for people, do everything else I got to do in life.
So you just opened a whole other can of worms for me now too. So yeah, you got to dry this wood.
You got to dry the wood.
So that's what, I know you have the warehouse next to the restaurant. That's what all the wood in there is doing, is basically drying?
Some of it in the back area, outside is drying.
How do you dry the wood?
I assume just time.
Yeah, so this is like a process.
Paper towels.
Put a fan on it.
Stick it in the oven, right? to a sense that's what we do.
Paper towels, a bunch of brawny. But yeah, for real, what is that process?
No, so that's such misconception from guys like you. Not saying that you would know that, but it's just people don't. Yeah. So you can't just cut a tree down, slice it up, and make this table. You know, it's just, that's impossible. You would need to let the dry it. Okay, a rough scope of it is 1 inch per year. Air drying. So when I say air drying, it's sitting outside, letting the air flow through it. So if you cut 1 inch board, that needs to sit outside for a year before you can use it indoors.
What if it rains on it? It's okay?
You gotta have some sort of cover on it.
Oh, okay.
So, but you would put what they call stickers in between the boards so the air can flow through it.
Okay, and I've seen that.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So you want a 2 inch board and you want to air dry it 2 years. Rule of thumb.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm wanting something, literally, I better ask now for 2025, or like, you know, give or take.
Well, if you had something in your yard and you wanted to make something out of it, it's going to take you probably a year to do it right.
Right.
To do it right. So is what I do is I air dry all my wood for 6 months to a year, 2 inches. Mm-hmm. And then I would send it to a kiln, which is literally a big oven. And then you can regulate the temperature to speed up that drying process.
Okay.
So and that's another business, like someone.
That's
like,
another side business of it. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So I usually outsource some of that. I've done some of it myself. That's a whole nother animal.
Right.
With just like cutting it is.
Right.
So, and you know, that kills the bugs. That will make it so it doesn't check, warp, crack, split. And I mean, that's a whole science in it.
So you literally over time, trial and error, you've picked up basically this knowledge.
Tons of knowledge. Yep.
Maybe some reading, or, you know, I'm sure, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll see a lot of guys, they'll try selling the wood and it's green. And people don't know that. They don't know that you need to dry it. They don't know that that when you build something out of that wood, your project's going to break or crack or warp. And so I don't sell any green lumber. You know, green lumber can be used for outdoor projects. So if you're building a chicken coop or something like that, or, you know, like a fireplace, benches, like that can be used in green lumber because it literally lived outside its whole life.
When you're saying green lumber, you mean like
fresh off the mill.
That they just cut?
Just cut.
Oh, green meaning fresh. Okay.
Green meaning fresh.
I was thinking color. You know how it'll have like some of
Yeah.
that moss or slimy, slippery green stuff.
Sure.
That was where my head was going when you're saying the green wood.
I'm probably using some terms that you're not familiar with, so I apologize.
But I was saying in my head, I'm like, I'm not a wood guy, but I'm gonna look at that green colored wood and go, I don't think I want that for my project. But so you're just meaning fresh,
freshly cut.
So the process,
like we're green on this conversation.
There you go. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
the process that you were just saying that you put the wood in a big oven. Is that does that have anything to do with treated lumber that we buy to do our front porches and stuff, or it has nothing to do with it?
Yes.
Is that how people treat lumber as well? Okay.
So your 2x4s that you would buy from Lowe's would be heat treated and kiln dried.
It's the same process that you're talking about?
Yes, but just on a very large scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they having, so a 2x4, like, is it having to wait? Are these 2x4s put together a
No.
year? Or they're speeding that process
They're
up?
speeding that process up. I mean, and then especially like when you look at an old 2x4 to a new 2x4, like I'm talking 100 years ago, the rings are really tight on the old ones because that's old growth. They call that because that tree was growing for 100 years. And the new 2x4s, you know, they're thicker. So that tree is a young tree and they're growing it just for lumber production. So that's why you'll go to Lowe's and you want to pick through, you know, they're on curve. You don't get all that just because of that reason. And then they just want to speed up the process to sell it.
I know you do home projects and stuff. Do you, when you go get 2x4s,
Sometimes.
are you looking at them or you just throw them on the car?
I don't know much about wood, so I just
Yeah.
choose the one that looks the best.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
not-
if you don't look, you can get some. There'll be
You
some
get some really-
bananas.
yep.
Yeah.
Some bananas in there for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm forced to just look at it and just get the one that looks the best.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So far though, you're enjoying it. It's going good. Is it at what point? Now, how many years have you been doing this? You said on and off, kind of hobby-ish, but
Yeah, so I've probably been pretty serious about it for about 4 years now. Like, honest to God, cutting wood for people and selling wood. Yeah.
and you've got a good little supply build up.
Yeah, you know, like my business is probably like 50-50 with, you know, not just selling wood. I custom cut for you. So say Victor had a log fall down his yard, just a really small one, and he wanted to have some cutting boards cut out of it. He'd bring it to me and I could cut it any way that he wanted and I'd give it right back to him.
Sure.
And then if you have a farm and, you know, you want to build a new shed, I'd come out to your farm and you would supply the logs and I would cut all the wood for your shed and then you would build that shed with your own lumber.
Right.
You know, I love doing that when somebody has this tree their grandfather planted that said, hey, I want to build a bench out of this.
Right.
And then I'll go to their house, cut that board up for them, and then they can take it and use it and build whatever they want. And that tree's still with them forever, you know?
Right.
So
What is a very thick tree, like an old tree? Can you still use the sawmill?
Yeah, so my mill, I run an LT40 wide, which is Wood-Mizer. They're made in Indianapolis. They've always been American made. I can cut 36 inches wide and 20 feet long. So about 3 feet by 20 feet. That's what my mill can cut. But I have, they make mills that can cut 72 inches wide. So, you know, if you got a 60-inch tree and you want to build like a table like this out of one piece, they do make sawmills for that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, any tree is valuable.
Right.
What I say.
So, I mean, in a perfect world, you know, someone would call and basically, and they may not even want anything out of it, but like they want this cleaned up and out.
Yeah.
You're going to take that call.
I'm going to take the call, and, you know, I get so many logs for free that
Right.
I rarely buy logs.
You're right.
People call me all the time, and they ask me about it. I'm just like, I don't. You know, and then they ended up calling me back and telling me to come just pick the log up.
Right. I tried selling it. No luck.
No luck. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
It is. It works good.
Get your product and inventory basically for your time
Mm-hmm.
and your investment in,
Yep.
in the TL 3000 that you said. Or whatever. What'd you say?
LT40. Yeah.
You didn't remember.
TL 3000. I love it. So
No, that's sweet. That's a good. I mean,
it is. And then people think like a walnut tree, they think it's worth $500
Right.
for this trunk because I'm selling one piece for $300.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, oh well, this has 10 pieces in it. It's like, okay, well, you know how much
a lot of work off there.
it's a lot of work out there, and about a year and a half until I see any
Right.
return
That's
investment
true
on that.
too. Right.
Yep.
For
And-
sure.
And
Yeah.
then you're paying to put it somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Do you
Yeah.
have people helping you as well, or
You know, my wife does a lot of billing and scheduling and social media for me.
Okay.
But when it comes to out doing the just laboring work, I usually work by myself.
Okay.
So I've gotten very skilled with carts and lifting the slabs off the mill. I've had a few guys that will come work for me for wood. You know, they're woodworkers and they love being around the sawmill. And so I was like, hey, you want to come help this morning and I'll give you a piece of wood.
I'd be
And they love it.
interested just to go. I
Yeah.
don't even have to give me a piece of wood. I love seeing and experiencing like stuff you've never done.
Yeah.
You know, And especially when you're dealing with some like equipment, you know, some saws and tools. I don't know. I'm all in. I want to watch and
Yeah, you guys will have to come out.
yeah, it would be cool.
It's fun. Every time I'm milling for people, usually family members are coming out. It's pictures and videos. Nobody's ever seen one of these before.
Yeah.
So it's a fun experience for sure.
Like I said, I follow you on Instagram. I always enjoy just getting to check them out. I think a couple times you've even had the boys out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. So then when you had, you said you had some land in East Galesburg. So, I mean, is that where you kind of did a lot of trial and error, even on, you know, just getting some of that going?
That's where I staged my first mill, and then I could haul my mobile mill out there, and then I would stack all my logs. I have a dump trailer to haul the logs in. And so, you know, like Victor said, if it rains on the wood, you know, that's another whole nother separate thing with storing. So I couldn't store it out there because I didn't have any coverage.
Right.
So then I would have to haul it back somewhere where I could store it. So that's a whole nother animal in it itself is storage. So
could it be outside? And, you know, like a lot of times farmers will have like all of their hay and feed, whatever, and have like these tight white wrappings over them. But I know you'd still have to get that airflow.
Yeah.
So, like, could you do something outside, or basically just a covering, but still open? And would wildlife would that be subject to more bugs and things getting into it, or would that?
Yeah.
What would that be like?
You could. A lot of guys would cover it with like tin and bricks and blocks.
Okay.
But there's also a style called European stack. So when you cut the top of the log, it's called a flitch. So that's the crown, you know, crown of it. So when you go to stack a log, you would stack it, you know, 4 inches off the ground to keep all the bugs off it. And you would build the log as the same way that you cut it. And then you would put that top piece on, and then it would essentially shed the rain off of it.
Right.
And so you would get that, but it would still gray from the sun.
Sure.
So
yeah, you don't want the sun on.
You don't want the sun on it, no.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's why you want it to air dry. It's like that tree is 70 years old, 80 years old, right? So it's not going to dry in a month. So you want to let it dry slowly, very slowly.
Right.
Or it's going to crack and check. When I say check, have you ever seen a board and it's got a big crack down the middle of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to do that.
Whoa.
So.
And then will it change color? Is that when you said it'll gray?
It'll gray when the sun hits it. And that's another beautiful thing about the wood when you saw through it like walnut. Okay, you'll cut through it, and it's almost like a purplish green
in the middle, like
in the middle of
cut.
it. Yep, the fresh cut, because that section has never seen air before.
Right.
And then on the ends, it'll be brown, and then probably 5 minutes later, that brown just works its way in, and then the slab is all brown. So, and that's a lot. That's mainly with walnut, but it always does change colors after you do cut it.
What's the most popular tree for us in our area? I mean,
like for tables like this that we see often?
You know, around here you'll see a lot of pin oaks. You'll see a lot of maples, silver maples. They'll have the little this helicopters that they drop.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a silver maple. That's a soft wood, but it's still considered like harder than pine, because then you'll have hard maples, which you'll see some of those, and that's a really nice wood. And you'll see cherry trees. I mean, they're not the cherries you eat.
Cherry oak?
Cherry, just cherry,
So
like a wild cherry.
There is a cherry oak too, or no?
No.
No? So it's just cherry tree.
It's just a cherry tree.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then you'll have a lot of oak trees, pin oak trees. And pin oak trees are the trees that hold their leaves until like December.
The last one.
The very last one, yeah.
So wait, those are, I got to remember this. That's called a pin oak?
Pin oak.
All right, so hey, right before the next winter, I'm going to drop that on somebody. The last one with some leaves, I'm like, guys, that's a pin oak over there. I know that. That's awesome.
That gets you some points. Yeah.
What about pine, like evergreen, what is it, right? The pine tree?
Yeah.
Do you use those? Those are real syrupy and sticky,
Yeah,
right?
they're full of knots.
Or sap, not syrupy.
Yeah,
It said
sap.
syrupy.
Yeah, we're not Canada, right?
Look, man, I'm telling you, we're learning all types of stuff today.
No, but they do make walnut syrup out of a walnut tree, and I've heard it's amazing. So yeah, I haven't got into that yet though. I do know a guy in Oneida that does it.
He makes it.
He makes his own syrup.
See, that might be our next guest.
There you go.
Would it be possible? Let's say I'm looking for. I want a table like this one, but 2 times the size of this one.
Sure.
Twice the size. Is that something you would be able to do?
You know, I could definitely do that, but I just don't have time to do that right now.
So you're gonna
Like,
get the wood.
yeah, I could give you the wood and you could build it. You know, but
Do you know a guy?
terrible,
But do you know a guy? Then
I do
that
know
you
a
can
guy.
Also, so you can
Yes,
refer
I have
these
like
people.
3 or 4 references that I refer them to.
Sure.
Yeah.
See, that's awesome.
Yep.
That helps.
And then that helps them, and they love the kickback from me. And
So they can do like a kitchen countertop or like an island.
Yep.
And that's the stuff that interests me. And then even the floating shelves.
yeah.
Those would be sharp.
I've
Yep.
seen the floating shelves.
Yeah,
Looks nice.
yeah.
And the edge is like around it.
Yeah, they're cool.
Which is the live.
Yeah,
Yeah, the live
live
edge.
right? So are most of the things done with that live edge, or can you get, obviously you could run it and have it be more squared off?
And that's what I tell people when I'm cutting my lumber that's in stock. You can never put the live edge back on, but I can take it off pretty easy.
Right.
You know, if you just wanted to square up a table like this, you know, and I can always make it thinner, but I can't make it thicker. So that's kind of like my philosophy when I'm milling wood.
So do you have any of your work in the restaurant?
I have a few small pieces in there.
You do?
That I've done for, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
good.
one thing it might sound dumb, but how is there a law for you that says that you can't cut trees, or how does that work? Like, can you just cut a tree in your backyard and make wood, or you can't?
Are there any restrictions?
Yeah,
if you will, that you
restrictions,
have
yeah.
to follow
Okay.
over?
Yes and no. So you can cut any tree on your property that you want to, but now a building inspector might frown upon you framing your house out of that lumber because it hasn't been graded and it hasn't been dried.
Okay.
Right.
See what I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they
So it would
need
be like not to code.
not to code.
Right.
And that is really, there's the guys I follow on Instagram, there's a fight with that in North Carolina because that's just kind of big timber companies saying don't want the little guys to jump in on it.
Right.
You know, they got to have their stamp.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Everything's about money, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I did a really fun project about 1.5 years ago for a friend of mine. He's a lineman. So he got all these cedar highline poles. And I mean, we cut all the supports for his deck. And that's when lumber prices were through the roof. And I mean, he built this beautiful deck. It's huge. And I mean, it saved him about $7,500
Right.
by me cutting it for him.
Right.
So, and I charged him $1,000 to cut his whole deck. So,
So he was taking those utility poles.
Yep.
Right.
yep.
So it would be okay if I just buy a land and just put all those trees down, cut all the trees, and sell the wood?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People do it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
So if like you've been very blessed and haven't necessarily had to get into purchasing, right? Like a lot of it kind of falls in that manner. But so who would be out there that's buying? You know, obviously there's people that are buying this wood.
Yeah. So when I started Urban Milling Co., I really just wanted to reuse trees that were going to the landfill. Like I remember sitting in a meeting that they paid $30,000 to get rid of all the trees that people brought in for waste.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, if they're paying, like, why can't they just give them to somebody
Right.
and reduce cost? So I was like, then that's kind of where like my idea started circulating on. I'm like, let's do this. You know, instead of ending up in a landfill, like, why can't we reuse them?
Right.
So, back to that. Then that's when I started getting all the free lumber. I mean, I know it's still a lot of work to get the lumber, but I would want just to reuse every piece of wood. Like, there's no reason that it needs to be burnt.
Right.
Yeah, some of the wood that has been burnt is worth thousands of dollars. Thousands.
And they just don't have a place.
Place
just
for it,
get
yeah.
it out of here. We
Yep.
need it gone.
Yep. And nobody wants to buy the lumber that I cut because it's in Lauren's backyard where his dad had a tree house and put this huge lag screw in it. And then it goes out to a mill that has $1,000 saw blade, and he hits that metal and it ruins his $1,000 saw blade.
Right.
So nobody wants to buy that stuff.
Right.
So they want to buy Lauren's grandfather's land it's been 100 acres that nobody's ever touched.
Right.
Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of nails, fence posts, and urban lumber. You know, you never know what's in a tree.
No.
You can take a metal detector, but you don't know what's in the middle of it.
Right.
Yeah. But when you go out to, say, Watauga and you try to log a 100-acre farm, chances are really good there's no metal out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my blades, when I hit metal, are worth about $30, $35.
The blade is.
The blade is. So if I'm going to get $100 out of a board or $1,000 out of a free log, it's worth my risk to mill
$30.
an urban tree.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What made you come up with your name?
You know, I just like the concept of using urban wood. You know, like I was following this concept when it was pretty premature. So that I belong to a company, an organization called Urban Network, and they're trying to get urban Illinois so that we can receive grants for the work that we're doing. It's really big in Wisconsin. So we're trying to get this group together to form this kind of, I don't want to say conglomerate, but you know, this organization where we can all get together and provide everybody with urban lumber, you know, because it's a really feel good kind of thing to say, hey, that table is made from the maple tree that was in the plaza, you know, the square.
Sure.
You know, Monmouth here, yeah. Or in Chicago, anywhere, you know. So that's kind of where I was like, man, that's really cool. You know, I don't want my cheesy last name as a lumber company or something. And I was like, you know, Urban Milling Co., I was like, it fits what I do. It kind of gives that good vibe. You know, it's always a feel-good story when somebody reuses wood.
Right.
So
Where do you see urban milling in the next couple of years, 3 years?
You know, I've talked to my wife about this, and if my time allows, you know, I would love to work with other outside states and ship like our wood that's very domestic to us to like California or Florida. Like that's what I really want to do. You know, I would love to build like my own home out of it. You know, out of some timbers, like a timber frame home. That really excited me to get
cool.
going, you know?
That's like, it seems like some like old school, you know, like built with the bare hands, built with your time and your effort, your wood. Like that would be pretty special.
It sounds like a lot of work.
Oh yeah. I think building a house period is a lot of work.
Yeah, even if you're not doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, that would be really sweet. And like, I can only imagine like when it's all done and being able to kind of stand back and look and be like, man, you know.
Yeah,
like
and then
we did this.
Yeah, the kids say, you know, my dad did this, and like that's always a fun thing to say, you know, or hear.
Yeah.
So,
so I know your two boys, they're young, but I mean, are they inquisitive? They asking about this stuff, or are they just kind of like, man, Dad's doing some cool stuff?
Yeah, my oldest is, you know, he can do the hydraulics on the mill.
Right.
You know, it's just a couple levers that he can load it. You know,
he's got to love that.
Yeah, he does. He thinks it's super cool.
Right.
He can run the blower.
I would think it's super cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you lift the switch and it lifts a 2,000-pound log.
Right.
You know, like it's nothing.
That's cool.
So, but no, you know, there's a ton of sawdust involved. It's blowing in your face. You need to clean every single board off. So he can get out there and run the blower and clean all that sawdust off. And so, of course, he's running around in the sawdust and everything else.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I've been talking with LV, and I really do want to get him more involved. This summer with me taking out, and you know, so it's a really learning experience type of activity with us.
Right. So. And little father-son bonding. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And usually the people that I mill for, you know, I Bettendorf, Bloomington, you know, I've probably been about 2-hour radius around here, and everybody I meet is super cool. They would love kids, you know, like it kind of takes a special person to hire me, you know, because they know how much work is involved in finishing that wood. So they're usually kind of like-minded. So it'll be fun bringing my my son out and introducing him to those kind of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be the future of the company, dude.
Yeah, a little less labor for me, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
No, that time will come.
Yeah.
You know? So you mentioned 2,000 pound, you know, and that you got the hydraulics, but your original one didn't have that.
Mm-mm.
So what efforts do you, like you had mentioned having carts and like, you know, how
Yeah,
in the heck are you getting something up?
So just being very ambitious. So you would have what they call a cant hook.
Right?
So it's this long handled leverage,
Right.
and it digs into the log, and you can turn logs and roll logs. Okay.
With
Get
a
it?
lot of power, though.
With a lot of power.
Right.
Yep. And I mean, the logs are mainly cylindrical, so they roll pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could either roll it up, or I had a small tractor, I could push it up on the mill, and then you usually just cut until you can turn it, you know, manually. So, but the new mill, I mean, you're just doing this, and
Right.
it's just rolling the log and cutting it. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so I mean, if you wanted a mantelpiece, I would just roll this log up there, and I'd cut one side off, I'd cut the top off, and then I would cut, you know, down in the middle, and then you would have your mantelpiece.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you use the external part of the tree? How do you call like the
bark?
the bark or like the skin of the tree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's funny. Here's another little wood tip that if you cut a tree down in the winter and mill it, the bark will stay on the piece of wood. You know, have you ever seen wood with bark on it?
Right.
It will stay on the wood. If you cut it in the summer and mill it in the summer, it'll fall right off.
And you need to put in the freezer if you don't want it to fall off.
No, it literally, you will slice through it and it'll just peel right off.
Yeah.
Because of moisture.
Right.
Yep.
Is there things that how can people use that part of the tree if it falls off?
The bark, you just
yeah.
burn it for firewood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You know.
You can't really use for any type of furniture or anything like that.
No, I mean, a lot of people will ask for sawdust for like chicken coops or
Oil.
the
know, like
wood burning
cart-
stoves.
okay.
Yeah. Yep. So
Okay.
walnut dust. People don't like to use for animals because it can be poisonous to them. So
When we buy those 2x4s, what type of wood is that usually?
it's somewhere out west or Canada.
Yeah.
So probably like a pine or a spruce or a fir.
Are those the cheapest type of wood?
They just grow the fastest.
Oh, okay. And it's fast to treat it.
It's just
well.
a very quick process from when they
Okay.
plant it.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
and then when they were doing those huge forests up in like Vancouver and stuff, they're recycling all that. They're planting and cutting and
Okay.
so all that process.
Okay.
So I really don't like people logging, forests.
Right.
I've never really cut down a tree just to use it for lumber. I've always just taken trees that have been cut down for certain reasons.
Okay.
They're
like you said, trying to utilize it for something.
for
on
you
top
guys
of
what
that.
it is. Yeah.
Right.
They're like, do you have a 30-inch walnut? And I'm like, I get what I get. I can't go out and be selective.
Right.
Okay.
So if somebody says I got this sycamore tree and it's got this cool bend in it, then I'll go get it. And people love that stuff way more than they love a straight maple board.
Mm-hmm.
They want cracks and they want holes so they can put epoxy in it. They want cool features. They don't want something that they can go to the store and buy.
How often is someone calling you? Like, just curious. I mean, do you go sometimes a week or two, whatever?
No,
nothing?
I'm usually fielding at least 1 or 2 calls a week with regard to, can you mill? How much is it? How's the process? And I noticed right after the holidays, I was meeting 2 or 3 customers a week.
How are they getting a hold of you? How are they getting your information? I know you're on Instagram, but I mean, for me, I mean, if I wanted to get, like a mantle above the fireplace, I wouldn't even know where to start looking, to be honest, other than knowing you and that you do this.
Marketplace is a big one on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's a huge draw for me.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So, there's a lot of competition there with people. And then, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of competition that people don't sell great products. If Lauren's neighbor is selling a mantle, he might sell it for $30, but he just cut it off the mill yesterday.
Right.
Where Justin's selling his for $200 because he cut it 2 years ago.
Right. and it's gonna stay in one piece.
It's going to be a better product, and you can tell your customers who know that. You know, they know what it takes. They've done this before. So, and then I have a website that I built and manage myself.
Go ahead and share it.
And so it's urbanmillingco.com.
Okay.
So pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So, you know, I started trying to post some inventory on there, but it just didn't really quite work out. So.
Okay.
Yeah, does your I'll have to look at your website, but do you tell a little story? Do you got like your picture? I mean, what do you got?
Yeah, I kind of just do what my services are, what I charge, photos of past jobs I've done, and kind of like explain the process, because there's a lot of people who don't know anything about it.
I was gonna say that. Like, I think it would be very appealing if let's say I'm looking for a cut. Like, I don't know. I need to have. I want to make a table. Let's say, but I don't know how it works. And then if I go to your website, if there was a video showing the entire process step by step, I think that would be so nice, right? For people to understand and educate themselves on how it's done as well.
Yeah, I mean, you do get a lot of people that have never done projects before. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this, and they saw it on the internet and they do it, and it turned out great. You know. So
what's the coolest thing? What's one of the coolest experiences you've had since starting your company? Whether it was like a family just being so incredibly thankful for something, or really just like feeling good about your finished product.
Yeah.
What's one of those?
There's been a couple, you know. There's one that really kind of hit home that he was right outside of Peoria in Kickapoo, and he wanted me to come mill for him. He said he only had 3 or 4 logs. And, you know, I'm like, I have a 3-hour minimum. You know, by the time I pack my mill up, drive to Peoria. And he says, that's fine. So he had a log that he cut down with his dad like 4 years ago. And then his dad had passed away. And it was his last log that they'd cut together. So we milled it so he could make a bin for his ashes. You know, I was like, that's really cool. You know, you could tell he was getting kind of emotional. We were cutting the log, and it was beautiful. You know, he got really excited about it.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one. You know, like, this guy bought some property in Orion, and I mean, I bet he cut down 50 pine trees to build an addition on his home. You know, there's a guy on just here in town on Garfield. I mean, I'm not kidding you. This pine tree was 40 inches. It was huge, and we had to whittle it down. And he was so excited to have 62 by 4s out of that tree.
Whoa.
Yeah. And he's like, I think I charged him about $300 for that. And he's like, well, the tree guy was going to charge me $500 to get rid of it. So there you go. He came up $200, and he has, you know, 62 by 4s.
Right.
So there's been a lot of fun ones. You know, I love going on people's property and just hearing their stories.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you going to build with this? Like, that's like the coolest part of it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that's where the value is at.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it goes, like, you know, the old, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life kind of thing. But like, yeah, I mean, I think those personal connections and, you know, someone being able to, you know, be in like full of gratitude, and also being able to like just bring some value. It's not just a table. Like, this is something my dad and I did, or this came from our farm, or
there's
our
a story behind.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I do, it is about, if I'm going to cut for a guy, there's about 85% chance it's going to be him and his dad. Every time.
Right.
You know? So that's always cool. And then they get the bond cutting the wood too, you know?
Right.
So that's exciting. I do really like that part of the process.
Yeah,
I mean, the process I don't like is when I schedule it a month out and it's rainy and 30 degrees, but you know, you still go out there and cut.
You do?
Yeah, I will.
You can stand out there in the rain and do that?
Yep. It's not very pleasant, but we'll do it.
Right.
I've done it multiple times.
The only pro of that I just thought of is the sawdust is not flying everywhere.
That is the best part about it. Yep.
But it doesn't mess with the saw or the equipment at all?
It doesn't. Yeah, my mill is ready to be outside all 24/7.
Gotcha.
Oh, it doesn't make any difference
Nope.
when it's that weather. Like 2 days ago, that was like literally freezing everything.
The hydraulics will run a little bit slower.
Sure.
Okay.
So, and I will definitely not cut in that kind of weather.
Okay.
It's just, you know, it's just not fun at all.
Well, yeah, and it's slow.
It's slow.
And you're already freezing.
And nobody wants to pay extra for a slow mill.
Right.
So,
and at that time, the family's probably not even wanting to be out there.
No,
either.
yeah. Yeah.
No.
So my mobile milling really slows down in the wintertime. And I welcome that just because I get to spend some time with the family and,
So Justin, outside of work, man, what do you like to do? Like, you get to finally check out from work. What do you like?
I go back to work at La Continita, just the tequila bar that me and my wife own. But no, on the side note, we got some motorcycles and go-karts with the kids. So we're trying to look at a new piece of property where we can move to and have some time and area for them to play with that kind of stuff. So, but normally just spend time with my family.
Now when you were a kid, did you have kind of go-karts, dirt bikes?
Yeah, go-karts, dirt bikes. I mean, we had a lake a couple houses down at the end of the road, so that was kind of like our stomping ground, and rope swings and stuff like that.
Right.
So
I love a good rope swing.
What are the go-karts? What? The small carts, the race cars?
Yeah, like you can go do it like at different
mall
places. Yeah,
okay,
like that.
okay.
But I mean, we had one on my dad's farm. You just drive around and you'd look for like the littlest of hills to kind
they get a kick out of them.
Yeah.
I like those.
Yeah, you would love it.
Yeah.
He won't let me drive though.
Who, your son?
Yeah, he just
gets
loves.
scared?
He just likes driving that much.
Oh,
yeah. So
that's awesome. So
No.
you got the 2-seater.
we got the 2-seater. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So he gets to drive his brother around. Man, they love it. I get a little nervous though.
Yeah.
I'm like, watch out for that tree.
Right. That's all it takes is one.
Yeah,
little
one little.
we had a 3-wheeler growing up, and you talk about like I rode last time I rode one, I was drove one, I was much older. And, now you're more cautious. And even then, you're like getting up on the front and one side wheel. And you're like, as a kid, I never thought twice about these.
Yeah, no
ripping
way,
that
man.
thing all over.
Yeah.
Those things can get squirrely real quick.
I don't even think they can manufacture them anymore.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
But
Dangerous.
yeah, those are crazy. Oh. Well, Justin, man, I appreciate you coming in today. This has been a ton of fun. I didn't know what the heck we would cover. I said we were going to talk about some wood, and I didn't know a damn thing about any of it.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about it all day.
But yeah, dude, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wish you the
very
best
much.
of luck. I'll be
Yeah,
curious
thanks,
to
guys.
see what Urban Milling Co. does here in the future, and as well as all these other ventures. You and your wife too, you're both entrepreneurs and stay
Yeah.
busy.
Well,
so
thanks,
good.
guys. And I invite you wholeheartedly out if you ever want to come experience it and
Yeah.
just do something outdoors this summer.
I
man.
will.
It's a
Let me
really
know.
cool experience. Yeah.
sure,
I would
for
absolutely come do it.
We'll give Victor some wood for his projects at home.
For sure. Yeah,
Right.
that would be awesome.
His chicken coop or whatever he's building, right?
We get you a chicken coop. The price of eggs. You might want to. But no, I appreciate it, man. Justin Mcnaught with Urban Milling Co. You're tuned into the Talk About It podcast. Victor Dantas and myself, Lauren Fulmer. Thank you so much for all the support. We've been getting a lot of good feedback too, so really appreciate everyone taking the time.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah.
It will help us a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, appreciate it. But anyways, you guys have a great day and tune into the next episode, whoever it's going to be.
See you guys next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So you
Hit the bell.
so you know when the next episode is up. All
We
right?
appreciate all the support.
Thank you.